These are the rules of engagement. This session will be recorded. If you can type in your name and email affiliation, that would be great for us so we can contact you. And if you're not going to speak, please mute yourself. We will have a Q&A session, question and answers, after all three presentations. These are TED Talk presentations, 10 to 12 minutes each. After all three are presented, we will want to engage in a dialogue and answer questions, concerns, suggestions. So I guess let's get started. The next slide, please, Donna. So this is related to peace engineering. This is pretty much the goals. We want to transform the perspective for sustainable global future. In engineering, we always design, so we need to imagine, design, and create solutions that look at the intended and unintended consequences. And this is goal of peace engineering. Next, please. There's a definition. I'm not going to read it, but we will share all the slides and you are welcome to look at the definition. Next slide. Today, Peace Engineering ECHO is about incremental building water, electricity, and telecommunications infrastructure to support a more resilient community. Health is driving the world, but we need a good infrastructure to provide good health care globally. Next, please. Next slide. This is the agenda. We have three speakers. We're going to start with Hillman Mitchell, give us a picture of infrastructure. And then we will continue with Billy Jivetti from New Mexico, and then finalize with Rodney Herrington on water. Next slide. Let's start with Hillman. Thank you, Hillman, for joining us.
Thank you, Ramiro, and thanks to everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I think we have people from several parts of the world, so it's an honor to be working with you today. And I'm going to take a very short period of time to go through and lay the groundwork for Billy and Rodney. Let me see if I can actually navigate here. So I wanted to start off with this quote. This is from the World Bank, and they have a report that they published in June of last year. And basically it says that on average, investing in more resilient infrastructure for low and middle income countries would be a $4.2 trillion savings, and for every for every dollar invested, it would provide $4 in benefit. So as I said, I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. I'll just give you a little bit of background of myself, and then I'm going to talk about critical infrastructure, the interdependencies of critical infrastructure, and then talk a little bit about developing a framework for an integrated infrastructure, and then some incremental development strategies on how that might play out in your environment. So just a quick brief background of myself. I'm a computer scientist, and I got involved in humanitarian relief operations, emergency management, and really became focused on how to help communities become more resilient, not only during disasters, but also, if you will, during steady state. We have a lot of dynamics with climate change, with a lot of other factors that impact our public health and healthcare. And overall, I am focused on trying to ensure that we can provide more resilient communities through building, sustaining, and promoting good integrated infrastructure. In the United States, we've identified 16 critical infrastructure sectors, and I'm not going to go into all of these. Today, we're going to focus on the acronym WET. So we're going to focus on water, energy, and telecommunications, and with a focus on how we can utilize these infrastructures to provide a more resilient healthcare system, and in turn, a more resilient community. So very quickly, the interdependencies between these different infrastructures, if we start at the top, energy tends to be a critical element in sustaining water, the transportation, and, if you will, the healthcare and the emergency services. And this is just a simple diagram that was put together to try to illustrate that these things all become interdependent. If you disrupt one or the other, it sometimes causes problems. And you don't have to have everything in one large system, but for the most part, what we need to focus on is ensuring that we can provide these elements throughout the community and ensure that they are sustained and maintained. So just a couple of things. When you start working on trying to develop the infrastructure for a community, you have to think in terms of what you want to end up with. And so this is just a brief illustration of what the World Bank has defined as electrical energy needs for different communities. And if you look at this, it starts with something very small, 3 watts, and then it graduates up to multiple kilowatts. And this doesn't say that you can't do anything unless you have big infrastructure. It really says you can start with small components, but as you think in terms of your long-term infrastructure, you want to make sure that the investments that you're making provide the immediate needs, but also build towards a future direction. And then over on the right is kind of an illustration of telecommunications and how that might be developed, starting with very small cellular networks, building to a community-wide network, and ultimately getting to the internet. And you don't have to start with satellites. You can start with just connecting people at the local level. And so, again, these are just some ideas about how you can look at the frameworks of energy and telecommunications. And I'm going to leave it to Rodney to talk about the water components, but you can kind of see how if you start with the idea of building towards a framework, then you can start to develop various components in a scalable and repeatable fashion, what we refer to as fractals. And this improves the lives of individuals and the community. And so as you start working on developing various activities, whether they're small or large, you want to maintain a vision of where you're headed and make incremental investments toward that vision. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Billy and Rodney to carry on. But some of the underlying principles that we found to be successful in a variety of communities is to build local knowledge and skills so you can sustain the systems. You need to assess the dynamics of both the community and the technology so that you're able to take advantage of new technologies and accommodate the local culture and the dynamics within that community, and then refine your frameworks as you move towards development of these incremental projects. So with that, I'll stop sharing my screen and I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Hillman. Thank you. Next, let me introduce Billy. It's your presentation. Thank you.
I'm a native of Kenya, Western Kenya, precisely. Been in the US from being a student, and currently I'm a research scientist at the University of New Mexico. So what I intend to do with this presentation is my first time attending this Project ECO from the School of Engineering. I'm going to give a presentation in form of a story that captures the elements with water, electricity, telecommunications, but overarching theme being a building and infrastructure that supports a more resilient community. So the title of my presentation is called Fellbaum Community Health Center in the middle of nowhere. Trying to move my screens here. Let's see. Okay. So for the sake of our visitors, this is where I'm going to be talking about the site of the health center. Kenya is in East Africa. And so the reason I'm talking about this being in the middle of nowhere is that we are a remote community in Western Kenya. The immediate population is about 25,000, mostly poor subsistence farmers. And then there is an acute shortage of basic health services. For instance, we have a mortality rate of 33% from malaria, infant mortality 10%, and maternal mortality, like those who die during childbirth in this small community that I come from, stands at about 33% also. Additionally, we have several health needs, including water-related diseases like typhoid, dysentery.
We cannot see your slides.
You can't see my slides? Okay, let me see. I was sharing my screen. You see it?
Yes.
Okay.
So we see your presenter mode screen at this point.
Just go with that.
Should be good. Yeah.
Yeah. If you can, you may want to go back a couple of slides.
Okay, so let's see. There?
That's the first slide. Yes.
Okay. There you can see?
Now we can. Yes.
All right. So I just given a geographic location of the community I'm talking about. Kenya is in East Africa, and then Western Kenya, and the geographic location of the health center itself. And I was trying to give a story of the community. We are in a county called Vihiga, about 25,000 in the immediate community. These are poor people, mainly subsistence farmers. And then the shortage of healthcare services is acute. We do have a significant mortality rate from childhood malaria, infant mortality also, and then maternal mortality rate during childbirth is also at about 33%. Additionally, we have typhoid, dysentery, snake bites, dog bites, spider bites, motorcycle accidents are also increasing in the community. So here are just some of the pictures to show you. I'll be showing you a number of pictures just to make sure at least you get an idea of what it is. This is a young man family. This child on the back of the mother died a couple of months after I took this picture. This couple had lost about 3 children just to malaria, you know, in a span of 6 months. Snake bites, like I talked about, this man was doing manual labor. He got bitten by a snake on the hand. Luckily, he survived. And then, like I talked about, bicycle accidents. And then this man, I took his picture. He had stepped on a nail. The wound progressed into a secondary infection. 6 months later, after I took this picture, he died. And then I've also been in situations whereby somebody is experiencing an emergency situation. The only available mode of transport is a wheelbarrow or a bicycle, or, you know, in most cases, they have to carry the person to the hospital. Now, this one is close to my heart. This man used to be work in our homestead. In 2009, I was distributing bed nets from mosquito. I took this picture of him. When I went back a year later, he said he was looking after his animals. A spider bit him in the forest, and he ended up losing his left hand. You can see he's the one here in the right picture. I think 6 months after I returned to the US, he ended up dying from that poison from the spider. So the health center, the little story about the health center itself is that in 1969, my mother dreamt of a health center. She used to work as a nurse aide in the community. In 2002, I came to the US as a graduate student. And then I had what I call a burning bush moment in the year 2009 when I was at the University of Missouri. I met a tourist who had been to Kenya, and she loved the country so much. And she said she had some money she wanted to give to the communities in Kenya, and asked me if it was to be a school or a health center. And without missing a beat, I told her a health center will help this community. So she bequeathed us with a significant amount of money, I think $100,000, which became the capital for this health center. We broke the ground in 2010. And this is the architectural design. Then we had a volunteer engineer design for us. That is the ground, how it was looking like when we purchased it for the health center, very green, very vacant. As you can see, it's directly in the middle of nowhere. There was nothing. And so we began the construction. I hired, this guy works for the United Nations. He came on board to give us, you know, the measurements. And then we needed electricity, and we were told if we wait until we have constructed the center, it will be very cumbersome and expensive for the Kenya Power and Lighting Company to give us electricity. So you can see how we were doing everything remotely. And the reason we don't have machinery here is also that we were also trying to create employment for the local youth in the community. And courtesy of this project, in 2010, electricity came to the village for the very first time since independence of Kenya. During the groundbreaking ceremony, we had a community in attendance. A lot of people attended. School children came and gave presentations. We began the excavation of the ground. You can see in a setting, we cannot afford machinery. Like some of us are used to seeing big equipment here. It was a community event. I participated in filling sandbags, carrying them. A lot of this, you know, came to carry sandbags so that they could be able to afford to buy a meal or maybe school supplies for the school kids here. So that was in 2010. And again, because I'm doing this on my own, $20 here when I raise maybe a small grant, it has taken me about 10 years right now. So currently, this is where we stand. Fast forwarding forward, we have just finished putting in the windows after doing some significant fundraising this year. So this is how it looks like currently. We still have to complete the first floor, second floor interior design. So currently I'm raising the money for that so that at an appointed time, our target is that by the end of the year, we'll have done a significant completion on the first and second stories to commence clinicals. Just an additional one, picture of the same. So at this juncture, I want to talk about our water supply. When we began this construction project, we did not envision the very things we're talking about with water, electricity, energy, and telecommunications. So quickly it became an issue where we were located. We did not have a good supply of water. So what happened is that we bought a portable electric pump. We have a cistern at the bottom of the property here. It's a natural water cistern. So we carry the electric water pump. We have pipes in the ground. So the pump pumps water into a collection tank up to where we have the facility itself. So that is how we are able to collect enough water to sustain the construction of the project. And it has served us so well. The ultimate goal is that we can expand this water facility, this water, treat the water, and be able to share with the community itself. And I'm going to show you some of the related water issues here. The need for water, clean water, is very acute. As you can see, people are traveling distances for domestic water use, laundry, drinking water, animals themselves. So you can easily see children, sometimes they have to skip school because they're going to look for water. And behind there, that's chlorine, you know, a container of chlorine that we use to treat some of the water that the people drink. And then the other issue is the aspect of gold mining. Small-scale gold mining is so prevalent in this community. This is where my water supply system is. And when the gold miners discovered I have stored some water here, they came and dug around it. So when I went back this year to check on the progress itself, I found, oh my gosh, they had done a lot of damage to the water collection. And again, the reason is there is a high demand of water, but they don't have any good place to go. So these are some of the gold miners. You can see this man, when I was having a conversation with him, asking him why they're doing all this excavation, is that they are claiming that the waterbed itself has a reservoir, is a reservoir of gold deposits. So anywhere there is water flowing, they come and dig it. So here is an explanation. Here is a good example of someone, trying to save what the soil they have dug, and then they have to use a lot of water to save until they get to the bottom of the soil they have dug themselves to see if there are any gold deposits. I just wanted you to see how they try to get the gold. They dig into the ground. They have a pulley system. In my right picture here is a young man being deposited. I'm using the word deposited into the ground to pull the soil up so that they can be able to sieve the soil and get some gold deposits. So a little bit about the infrastructure that I'm calling road itself. Again, like I said, I began this project thinking I was only going to construct a health center, a building, but I discovered I had to transport materials in bulk, and gosh, I needed a road, and there was no road to this place. We had a footpath. So here is the road to the facility. During the rain season, there is a lot of water runoff from the roads, and you can see we have had to spend a lot of money filling the gullies that the water runoff has created. And this road, filling this has put a dent on my budget significantly, spent close to about $5,000 just trying to come up with a road infrastructure itself. So that's the other issue that I discovered when I was working on this project. But that is not all. There is also the bridge to nowhere. There is about 10 villages that need to be using these facilities. And you can see this is the existent bridge, to the facility. So a lot of people, especially those who are older, tend to be cut off when they're trying to access the facility. Occasionally we get visitors, and because it's a temporary bridge, every time the water fills up, the bridge is washed away. So we have come up with what I'm calling design, of some kind, a wish for a bridge for this place. You can see it's commonly used by the ordinary people in the community. When we complete and we get to a point we want to put a bridge, this is what we are envisioning, a bridge, and this is just a hand design of the bridge itself that connects to the health center itself. It can take like a 3-ton, truck, because by doing that, some of the benefits that will accrue from that is that 10 villages which have been cut away will now be able to be connected. A population of about 60,000 people will be able to use the facility. And then motorcycles, which are our local, mode of transport, can be able to access the facility easily. And again, the local economy will improve significantly just by investing in this thing that I'm calling a bridge to nowhere currently. So occasionally we host medical camps, and you can see the people responding from as early as 7 a.m. We have people lining up at the facility, all ages, coming up to utilize this facility. The slide for telecommunications is blank, and for a reason. We do have a very good cell phone coverage in Kenya. I had invited an engineer from the cell phone company in Kenya to be with us today. He does inform me that he's still in the field, but he's confirming that the cell phone company is now providing some good bandwidth, not far from where we are, about 2 miles away. So we can be able to get an antenna at the facility and transact some of the things we envision via teleconference or using technology. So in conclusion, when we talk about building a more resilient community, I have learned a series of lessons. I began my story by telling you that my community is actually in the middle of nowhere, but we discovered the aspect of health is very, very central to the community. The medical building itself has materialized against great odds. Substantial impacts on the local economy exist. There are so many gains for the villages and especially the economy itself and what the future itself holds in terms of clinical treatment, training in health literacy, water and sanitation health, preventive medicine, and of course, carrying out some research. But again, this picture has stuck with me. How am I going to achieve this if I cannot be able to connect the 10 villages that will be using these facilities? When the people who need to use this facility are walking to the facility, but they cannot be able to cross, assuming this man is unwell. And I end with this picture that I began with. In 2011, we had a blank, a space in the middle of nowhere. In 2020, this is where we are standing currently. So I think we are headed somewhere. We are still in the middle of nowhere, but definitely by the end of this year, early next year, or by the end of next year, we'll have contributed to building a community that is trying to become resilient. I want to thank you all and hand back the meeting to Ramiro.
Thank you, Billy. Awesome presentation. Very proud of you. We are going to now invite Rodney to present his talk. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Rodney.
Okay. See my screen okay?
Yes.
Okay, so Aqua Research develops water treatment technologies, primarily disinfection and some filtration, to address the 1 billion people on the planet who don't have access to safe water. So we believe we have the world's waterborne disease solution in terms of disinfection. So drinking water in general, in the US EPA, the requirements are turbidity, cloudiness of the water never to exceed 1 nephelometric turbidity units, technical term, but test at 0.3 NTU. And it must have a detectable chlorine residual, which is never greater than 4 milligrams per liter. But dirt doesn't hurt. Bugs are what kill you. 10,000 people have died from cholera in Haiti since the 2010 earthquake. Today in Yemen, there are 2 million cases of cholera, the largest outbreak in history. So chlorination, I argue, is more important than filtration. If you're collecting water, even if it's cloudy, you want to kill the bugs. So chlorine is one of the greatest health interventions in history. We eliminated typhoid and cholera in the United States from 1908 to 1940 when it was fully implemented in the United States. The life expectancy in the United States went from 47 years to 63 years. 16-year increase over chlorination and treatment of drinking water. So filtration, there are several ways to do that. You can slow sand filter, you can biosand filter, you can membrane filter. And with membrane filtration, there's typically 4 different methods or degrees of filtration. Microfilters are common in gravity flow type systems or straws that you can suck through, things like that. But these systems and the fibers in them fail without warning, or they clog, and they do not remove virus. The microfilters, the pores are not tight enough to remove virus. With an ultrafilter, the next level up, it takes about 5 PSI to drive water through the membrane, but it removes everything, all the dirt, the bugs, including virus, and you get immediate clean water. Nanofilters remove divalent ions, i.e. ions that cause hardness. So they're used for water softening and pre-filters for reverse osmosis, which is the last. And reverse osmosis, of course, is what's used to desalinate seawater to make it drinking water. And RO systems are getting very popular in systems to clean suspect water. So Aqua Research has a number of relationships working with organizations like PATH out of Seattle, who has offices in a number of countries in Africa, trying to distribute and educate health officials on technologies that are available for disinfection for water and sanitary health. We work with Operation Blessing International. We've worked with Catholic Relief Services, the CARES Foundation, Yemen Foundation, a number of other non-government organizations, as well as USAID and World Health Organization, and some corporate partners like Denora, who is the world's leading outdoor electrolytics equipment electrode manufacturer. So we're working in Africa and Haiti, Japan, and many others right now. And so this little device here I'm showing you is what we call H2Go. It's a point of use solution. It's got a solar panel on it to power it and has a rechargeable cell phone battery. And it'll make water safe for a family up to about 40 liters a day. And you have to recharge it once a week, either with the solar panel or the USB port in it. A lot of people have cell phones today, have chargers. But if you charge it once a week, it'll do 300 liters on a charge, about 40 liters a day. And recharge it once a week, that's 50 charges a year. And it'll recharge like your cell phone 500 times. So this will provide 40 liters of water a day for a family for 10 years at a price of 50 cents a year in salt. It's just salt. Salt is the only consumable, common salt. So there's no cheaper way to make water safe. And it puts the cleanliness of and making water safe in the hands of the individual, mothers typically in families in developing countries. It kills all classes of microorganisms. It's very low weight, 4-ounce device. And so it's very effective. It's been deployed worldwide. It's been used in disasters. So it's a very useful device. So this is a case where we're using it in Haiti. And we work with organizations to make houses for people, just plywood houses, something they haven't had before. And we put rainwater collection systems on them. And then we use these little H2O devices to disinfect the rainwater. So it's a very effective method for giving the family water and disinfected safe water. So the stream system is a briefcase type system. It's a portable unit. It'll disinfect up to 68,000, that's 230,000 liters of water per day. Or you can use it to make sanitizing solution. A sanitizing solution of 5,000 part per million chlorine, that's 0.5% chlorine, about a gallon an hour, about 5 liters per hour for healthcare facilities. And we've sold a lot of these this year recently in response to COVID in healthcare facilities in developing countries. So we're working with PATH, Catholic Relief Services, Haiti, various organizations. There's a website link here I can send you if anybody's interested in the information. So it operates on 110 or 220 or a car battery, solar panel. It'll operate on any power source. So this is an example of the use of these stream systems. In the picture on the lower left, they're lined up on a table in Haiti with the Caris Foundation, and it's a USAID success story write-up made by USAID in response to COVID. So they're making disinfectant with these stream systems. They're putting it in these 5-gallon, 20-liter buckets, and they're just putting it in bottles and distributing to healthcare facilities, 168 healthcare facilities in Haiti. This is streams. There's 10 of them, 5 on each table set, in Tamale Teaching Hospital in Ghana. And so they wanted a demo of a unit. We loaned them a unit for up to 3 months, and they were running it 22 to 23 hours a day. And then they purchased these 10 systems to make volumes of chlorine for the healthcare facility. We have a small system called Safe Water Canteen. It's a 5-gallon jerry can, and it has an ultra filter. It's a 20-liter container. And somebody can take this to a lake, river, stream, somewhere, a freshwater source, and they remove the black filter hand pump on the upper right, fill it with water, pump the thing up with about 10 strokes, and it'll pressure up that tank to about 5 PSI. On the lower left, you don't see it, but there's a valve and an ultra filter in there. You open the valve and out comes instant clean water. So we've been through all the testing to demonstrate the filters remove everything to meet EPA, NSF, World Health Organization, military standard. We have larger systems that we produce. We've just recently shipped a number of these units to Haiti to put in 5 major healthcare facilities. And they're large commercial, fully automated systems to make chlorine in volume for sanitation and healthcare facilities there. So we have a range of products that do that. So anyway, that's the presentation on what we do. We have products for individuals and families in developing countries to commercial scale systems to make chlorine to save lives. And it is proven that chlorine is an effective solution for making water safe. Okay.
Thank you, Rodney. Thank you, everybody. Now we have about 15 minutes left. I would like to open for questions and answers. If you can type in your questions in the chat, then we will convey those questions to one of the presenters or all of them. Donna, any questions?
Yeah, so we have one question from, let's see, Les Shepard. Les, would you like to go ahead and ask your question to Billy?
Yeah, thank you. Billy, firstly, really amazing work. Thank you for all that you do. because it's certainly needed. The question I had really was the hospital, the healthcare facility is really a remarkable achievement in and of itself. And I was curious about the support for sanitation systems in and around the hospital in that community and how you actually go about treating your waste that's developed in that process.
Actually, I would have given you a standing ovation for that question. Thank you so much. This area, we have a lot of infections that stem from the problem of open defecation. Like I said, it's a rural community. We need a lot of health education. So a lot of people indulge in open defecation because it's part of the culture. And so you find that washes into the water systems and the people drink the untreated water and the cycle continues. So you ask about our water treatment. We do have, as part of our facility, we are required to have an incinerator and also a septic tank that will be treating the waste from the hospital itself. In terms of helping the community treat itself, that is something we'll carry out with when we are doing a water sanitation and health programs to help people know that open defecation shouldn't be happening because it has an impact on our health directly. Yeah, so the only water treatment facility, sewage treatment facility, or waste treatment facility is likely to come from this facility that we are putting up. And again, it's one of the expenses. Like I said, when we began the project, we did not envision, but the costing itself is about, told about $5,000.
Thank you, Billy.
Thank you.
Okay, Hans Hoyer has a question. Hans, would you like to ask your question?
Thank you very much. I really appreciated the two presentations. Very, very thoughtful. Billy, I've had the chance to live in Kenya and know somewhat the area that you're describing. Very exciting, important work that you're doing. I'm sure you appreciated the leadership. But my question is, and this refers to also the other speaker, I saw a number of institutions, Catholic Relief Services and all this, either indigenous, local NGO leadership structures. Mm-hmm. You're awesome, obviously committed professional with roots there. But the question is, what are the sustainable local structures of leaders that will continue this excellent work that you've catalyzed? Thank you.
So kindly reframe the question again. I was taking the notes as you were writing.
The question is, who are the local leaders that will, and the local structures, NGOs, community organizations that will carry on this important work that you have catalyzed?
Okay, so we have the county government that have made a proposal to be able to send us at least a nurse. I did not give you in my statistics that the ratio of a patient to the population is 1 doctor to 50,000. The ratio of 1 nurse in the community is like 1 to 3,900 patients. So we do have an acute shortage of healthcare professionals, but I reached out to the county government. So we are still in talks with them to be able to see if they can support us in that regard. The other thing that I'm working on in terms of sustaining the program is we have a strong church, influence in the area. The Quaker church that was begun by American Quaker missionaries. I'm talking to a few Quaker meetings here in the US here to continue the relationship that began in 1903 in the community Kaimosi that I come from. And then additionally, I do have a number of Kenyans joining us for this meeting. They're representing the university, a new university in the region called Masinde Muliro. I'm also trying to see if we can come up with a partnership with their School of Medicine so that some of these programs are co-shared or co-provided, you know, between the health center and the university itself. And then we also have local leadership that are just appointed, like within the community. And then lastly, our model is going to invest very heavily on preventive medicine. We have a proposal for training community health workers who will be going around the village and teaching people the very things you're talking about. That way, we can be able to cut the cost of running the facility and of course, the cost of treatment if we educate most of the people about preventing the disease in the area.
Okay, we have a question from Zuzu Z. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name right. Could you go ahead and ask your question?
And I'm here, and I'm very appreciate to ask my questions. My first question is that I want to ask, so what will the refugee camp will be and how we going to decide them? Because I want to know the local geography and learning about their local environment, so we can find what will be the water resource there, so we can make our further research there. And my second question is, so you mentioned that you have a community there, so how you have people there, how will be some volunteer be in your community, and how those volunteer be involved in your project? That's all. Thank you.
Was that for Billy or for?
For you, Billy.
Okay. So in terms of involving the community, like I said at the onset, we are a community of small scale peasant farmers. So what I try to do is when I bring them to work on the project, I pay them something that they can buy food for their families. Sometimes I have had to pay for their children to go to school in exchange for their labor at the project. Other times when I come with a medical camp, in exchange of the volunteer, the medical camp is often free. So there are some in-kind ways of appreciating or stimulating volunteer from the community. The type of people I'm trying to see who can bring in the expertise are the professionals around, some of who are my Kenyan colleagues on this meeting here, to see if we can also nurture in the aspect of professionals coming in to volunteer the expertise, either medical doctors, engineers, or any other expertise into the community. I think if we can also adopt that aspect, we can also be able to stimulate community involvement. I see a number of questions in the chat.
Yes, Samuel Mukasa.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Billy, thank you very, very much for that presentation. I am the person who just got in touch with you to tell you I was born in Maseno, but I'm a professor at the University of Minnesota. And the question I just asked you is, to do with government involvement. You've done a tremendous amount of work already to get the facility to the stage where it is right now. And I'm wondering whether there has been any effort to reach out to the government to assist you in getting the project across the finish line.
Thank you, my brother from Uganda, Samuel.
Yes.
I think next time I'm in Minnesota, I'll look for you. But thank you. The aspect of government involvement is a tricky one. The central government sits in the capital city, Nairobi, which is 8 hours away. Getting somebody from the health ministry to respond may take forever. but I do have some contacts when it comes to getting a license to operate. They have expressed a willingness to help facilitate that. We do have the county governments also in place, but again, the same issue comes into play. They are all still politicians. If they're not going to get a vote, here, so, and then they see we have come very far without political, tokens or involvement, then they are like, okay, not here. But I can guarantee you, my brother Samuel, that the local member of parliament, the deputy governor of the county, and the local representative in the county, in the city government, equivalent of the city government, all of them have been to the facility, but from the time they left, they all left me with a number of promises. We'll do something, we'll send you something, but that was it. So in a nutshell, government involvement is still a pipe dream or a mirage, to be precise.
May I have a follow-up question?
Sure.
The Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation has had a huge effort in Africa fighting malaria. Mm-hmm. And I'm very intrigued to hear you say that this clinic is going to focus on preventative medicine. Could there be some synergistic interaction with the Gates Foundation in order to address one of the most compelling problems in places like Western Kenya, which is malaria?
Absolutely. I have written a number of proposals with my colleague, Carl Benedict. I think he's also on this meeting. We have not been lucky with Bill and Melinda Gates. From 2017, we have focused on neglected tropical diseases, as I explained, but I think maybe our time has not yet come, but I think with your involvement, Samuel, I think we can be able to get something. What do you think?
I'll do whatever I can to help. So let's communicate offline.
Yeah, I'll share some of the proposals. Maybe you can help us adopt or adapt. Maybe when they see their name, the synergies that you're talking about, I think they can be able to come on board.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We have few minutes. Mm-hmm. So this is one of the reasons that ECHO Peace Engineering Program was created. We have committed to be working with Billy. We're already working on proposals. We have reached out to Kenyan friends. Both are in the medical community and also in the engineering community. So we're gonna start this ECHO Peace Engineering Program with them shortly. It's open to everybody. Sam, you're welcome to contribute and help. The good thing about teaming up with ECHO is they have a long history of fundraising with foundations. And they have the knowledge, the letters of support, the contacts that once we get the program going, it'll help in the fundraising. So this is the other reason of working with ECHO and Peace Engineering, is the knowledge that has been built for many years, contacts, and the people that fund ECHO. So there's a huge list of foundations. So ECHO is the finalist for the MacArthur Foundation $100 million grant. So this is something that we're also we want them to win. And I think the connecting health, wellness, and peace engineering is something that the world needs. And it's just about adding, not subtracting, and build on what already has been created. So it's open to everybody. I wanna invite everybody to get engaged. Donna will show a slide on, you can contact me, and there's a couple of web pages. And I wanna thank the three guests, the three presenters. They're all part of Peace Engineering ECHO. And it's a team that we're working together. And I invite other people to join us, and welcome, and thank you for participating in this ECHO Peace Engineering event.
Ramiro, there are a couple more questions. Can we go ahead and let them ask?
Yes, sorry.
Aaron Hughes has a couple questions. Aaron?
So I was curious about when Billy was mentioning the water treatment, and just curious as to what percentage of treatable illnesses or diseases are you expecting to see at this health facility and the spider bites and such?
Erin, I lost part of your question. I think there was a distortion.
Aaron, we didn't hear you. It's very choppy.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
I was just curious, it was kind of a follow-up question to the water treatment question. And just wondering what percentage of health issues are you expecting to treat at the health clinic that are like waterborne diseases versus, you know, accidents and snake bites?
Thank you, Erin. So the most common waterborne disease is called typhoid or Salmonella typhi is the scientific word for that disease. It's spread in the water that is untreated when human feces end up in water. So that is what is killing a lot of people in the area. And most people cannot even afford $50 to go to a local hospital. So a lot of them tend to take herbal medicine just to be able to quell the effects of a waterborne disease. The other thing is that, you know, gold mining also comes with mercury. You know, they use a lot of mercury in the water systems when they're trying to sieve the water. No study has been done to see the effect of gold mining or contamination of mercury in the water. That is something I'm also reaching out to an organization here to see if they can be able to fund. For your information, there are some companies from Australia that have even come that are doing mining in the area. So again, like I showed you in some of my slides, water, clean water is such a huge, you know, need in this community that we intend to, that I hope once we complete the facility, we can go back and invest in a treatment plant and have tanks or distribution points around the villages so that people can be able to get some great water. You also asked about sourcing local materials. Yes, all the bricks are made in the community, except some of which we buy outside. The farthest we have to travel to get maybe the steel and maybe some ballast is maybe an hour away. And again, it's because that's where most of the construction companies or stores tend to be located. About paying our workers, I did say we give them a token, maybe about $2 a day. That's about 200 Kenyan shillings per the local standards. In the rural community, that's something big because most of them may work for all day and maybe get $1 or less a day.
Great, thank you.
So Ramiro is going to have to leave, but we have one more question from Anthony Cifuna. So if Ramiro says goodbye, and then we'll let Anthony ask his question and then sign off.
I think what I just wanted to find out from Bill is if he has tried to, he has thought of engaging, rather registering his community health as a community health organization rather than having it move into government or government getting involved in facilitating the various activities that will be there. So if we just registered it as a community health center, then that would be a big plus for him. Then probably with the partners from the university and other organizations, then he is able to source for facilitation that can be able to support his initiative. I don't know, has he thought about it?
I think, like I said, you are most coming on board. I think that is a good, you know, value addition you're bringing on board. When I began, most of my support is from this side, except for the construction team that is in the local community. But I think the aspect, like you said, registering it into a community base is something that I think you and the team at most can help me pursue and be able to guide me appropriately, because, you know, being distance, you know, being this side and the facility is there, sometimes it takes time for me to know what is a good homegrown solution, what is workable on the ground. But I do really want to thank you for that insight, and definitely we can pursue it going forward.
Yeah, I think we will find it quite interesting. We'll be able to support,
yes,
and see how best we could be able to move forward with that kind of arrangement.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
So I want to thank everyone for attending this. We will make the recording available, and I'll send a link out. We'll also make it available on the IFEES website. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kenya. Thank you, people.